The restaurant glowed with bright natural light spilling in through tall windows. Sunlight touched every polished surface, making the glassware shine and the silverware glimmer softly. It was the kind of place where daytime elegance felt effortless, quiet, and expensive. Lily Harper moved between the tables with careful steps, balancing a tray against her hip. Her hands were steady, but her heart carried a familiar weight she could never set down. She wore a black apron with thin white trim, the fabric worn and softened by years of use. It had belonged to her mother. The contrast of black and white had faded in places, but Lily treated it like something sacred. Wearing it made her feel less alone in a world that often felt too big and too cold. At a window table sat Ethan Carmichael, a man who never needed help choosing anything. His tailored suit caught the sun, revealing the subtle texture of expensive fabric. A luxury watch rested on his wrist, its surface gleaming like a small sunburst every time he moved. He did not smile. He did not thank anyone. He simply expected perfection. Lily approached him with a polite tone that masked her nerves. "Good afternoon, sir. Can I get you anything else?" Ethan didn't look up. He scrolled through his phone, irritation building behind a controlled expression. A business deal had slipped away, and his pride felt bruised in a way he refused to accept. "The wine," he said. "It's the wrong temperature." Lily glanced at the glass. It looked perfect to her, but she knew better than to question him. "I'll bring you another right away, sir." She reached for the glass with a calm hand, but her fingertips brushed the edge of the table, and the glass tipped slightly. A few drops of wine splashed onto the pristine white tablecloth. The room didn't freeze, but the atmosphere shifted like a held breath. Ethan finally looked up, his gaze sharp and cold. He noticed the stain, then her, and something unkind moved behind his eyes. He picked up the glass and threw the wine directly onto her. The red liquid splashed across her chest, soaking into the black and white apron. It ran down the stitching and onto her hands, glowing under the afternoon light. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Chairs went still. Every eye turned toward them. Lily did not move. Her breath trembled as she stared at the apron her mother had worn for 2 decades. Her hands shook as she touched the fresh stain spreading through the faded threads. Ethan leaned back with a detached calm. "Maybe next time you'll pay attention." Her voice broke the silence, soft but trembling with emotion. "Sir, please, that was my mother's apron." Ethan blinked. Something in her tone made the anger drain from his face. For the first time, he truly saw her. Lily swallowed hard, her eyes shimmering with tears. "It's all I have left of her." The words hit him with unexpected force. The sunlight around them felt too bright, too real, too revealing. Ethan's chest tightened as guilt pushed through his carefully controlled mask. Lily clutched the apron, her voice breaking again. "She worked double shifts in this place. She died last year. I still wear this apron to feel close to her. I can't replace it." The room fell into a heavy, suffocating silence. Ethan heard his heartbeat echoing in his ears, loud and disorienting. Nothing he owned, nothing he controlled, had ever shaken him like her words. He stood quickly, knocking the chair back. "I didn't. I'll pay for." But Lily stepped away from him. Her sadness was quiet, but it carried more weight than any anger. "I'm used to people like you. But it still hurts." She turned and walked toward the kitchen, the stained apron trailing drops of red behind her. The sunlight followed her as she moved, highlighting every trembling step. No one looked at Ethan with admiration now, only shock, disappointment, and silence. Ethan remained still, unable to look away from the door Lily had disappeared behind. For the first time in his life, he didn't care about anyone's judgment. He could only hear the tremble in her voice. And something deep inside him cracked open. Ethan did not remember leaving the restaurant. He did not remember stepping outside into the bright afternoon light. He barely remembered getting into the back seat of his Bentley. All he could hear was her voice. That quiet, trembling voice that had slipped under his skin. It's all I have left of her. He stared down at his hands as the car moved through traffic. They looked clean, polished, and perfect, just like always. But they felt wrong. As if something invisible had stained them. He had thrown wine on a grieving woman. A woman who wore her mother's black and white apron to feel close to her. He had taken something precious and ruined it without a second thought. His penthouse felt colder than usual when he walked inside. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting off marble floors. The city sparkled below him like a world made of glass. He owned everything. Paintings worth millions hung on the walls. A bed larger than most studio apartments waited in perfect silence. But none of it mattered. Because every time he closed his eyes, he saw her. He saw the way her hands had shaken. He heard the quiet disappointment in her voice. Not anger. Not fear. Something worse. She had expected him to be exactly the kind of man he had shown her. Ethan poured himself a drink and watched the liquid settle. Then he poured it down the sink. He didn't want it. He didn't want anything he used to take comfort in. Sleep never came. He lay awake for hours, listening to the silence echo around him. And in that silence, he kept hearing her words. I'm used to people like you. When dawn finally broke, Ethan did something he had never done before. He went back. He told his driver to take him to the restaurant. It was early, long before the lunch rush. The street outside looked ordinary in the morning light. A world he had never really noticed before. He stood at the entrance with his hand on the door. He had faced massive negotiations without blinking. He had spoken to world leaders without hesitation. But walking into this restaurant now terrified him. Inside, the staff moved quietly as they prepared the dining room. Lily stood near the kitchen door, writing something on a notepad. She wore a plain white apron today, stiff and new, nothing like the one he had ruined. She looked up when she heard the door chime. Their eyes met for a second. Then she quickly looked away. Ethan approached her slowly, afraid of breaking something delicate. Lily. She didn't stop writing. Her voice stayed polite, but distant. We're not open yet, sir. I know, he said softly. I came to. The words failed him. He had never struggled to speak like this in his entire life. Lily kept her eyes on the notepad, but he noticed her hand tremble slightly. He took a breath. I'm sorry. For what I did. There's no excuse. I was angry at something that had nothing to do with you, and I took it out on you. I was wrong. Lily finally looked up and studied him carefully. Her expression was calm, unreadable. Okay. Just that. A simple word that felt heavier than any accusation. The apron, Ethan continued. I want to replace it. Or have it restored. Or. You can't replace it, she said quietly. Her voice held no anger, just exhaustion. It's not about the money. It never was. Something twisted painfully inside his chest. Then, what can I do? Lily watched him for a long moment before shaking her head. I don't think there's anything you can do. People like you don't understand people like me. We live in different worlds. She turned to walk away. And Ethan, who had spent his entire life getting everything he wanted, felt something inside him panic. He could not lose the chance to fix this. Not with her. You're right, he said quickly. His voice was raw, stripped of every ounce of pride. I don't understand. But I want to. Lily stopped walking. She didn't turn around, but she stopped. I've spent my whole life not seeing people, Ethan continued. Not really. And last night you made me see what I've become. I don't like it. The silence between them stretched, fragile but alive. Then Lily turned. Her eyes were guarded, but something flickered there, something uncertain, something human. Why did you really come back? She asked. Ethan met her gaze, feeling more exposed than he ever had. And he told her the truth, simple and unpolished. Because I haven't been able to stop thinking about you. The words lingered between them like something delicate, something neither of them knew how to touch. Lily's expression shifted, surprise flickering across her face before she pushed it down. She folded her arms, building a quiet wall Ethan felt responsible for. "You've been thinking about me?" she asked. Her voice held no warmth. Only the echo of the hurt he caused. "The woman you humiliated in front of the entire restaurant?" "Yes," Ethan said softly. He didn't try to hide behind excuses. Lily studied him, searching his face for signs of performance, for the polished charm men like him used so easily. "What exactly have you been thinking about?" she asked. Ethan hesitated. Words had always been instruments for him, sharp, calculated, designed to win. But none of that belonged here. "I've been thinking that I don't know anything about you," he said. "Except that you loved your mother. That you're still grieving her. That you wear her apron because it's the closest thing you have to her." He drew a breath. "And I hurt something that mattered deeply to you." Lily looked away, blinking fast as if steadying herself. "I also realized," he said quietly, "that in 32 years, no one has ever spoken to me the way you did last night. With honesty. With strength. You didn't yell or insult me. You just told me the truth. And it broke something in me." She met his eyes again. Her voice was calm, but her expression carried a quiet, lingering ache. "I've worked in restaurants since I was 16. I've seen rude customers. Many. But last night was different. You weren't rude. You were cruel. And the worst part was, you didn't even see me. I was invisible." Her words landed with sharp precision. Ethan felt each one settle in his chest. "You're right," he said. "I didn't see you. I've lived as if people were background noise. My parents weren't there. Staff raised me. People who were paid to keep me out of the way. I never learned how to see anyone." Lily's posture softened slightly, but she remained guarded. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," Ethan continued. "I know I haven't earned that. But I'm asking for a chance to understand. To learn how to be better than I've been." "Why?" she asked. The question came sharp. "Why would you care now? You'll go back to your penthouse, your cars, your world. People like me don't exist in it. Why does this matter to you?" "Because for the first time in my life, I felt something real," Ethan said. "Real shame. Real regret. Real awareness that I hurt someone who didn't deserve it. And I don't want to go back to feeling nothing." A different kind of silence settled between them, uncertain, searching, fragile. Lily slowly uncrossed her arms. Her fingers brushed the plain white apron tied around her waist. "My mother used to say people don't change unless they have a reason," she murmured. "A real reason. Not guilt. Not pity." "What kind of reason?" Ethan asked. She looked up at him. "That's something you have to discover on your own." A voice called from the kitchen. "Lily, we need you." She turned slightly, then looked back at him. "I have to go. We open soon." Ethan nodded. "Can I come back?" She hesitated. "Why would you want to?" "To learn," he said. "To understand. To be around someone who sees life differently than I do." Lily studied him for a long, thoughtful moment. Finally she said, "If you come back, don't come as a customer. Don't come in a suit. Come as a person. Not a billionaire." "Okay," Ethan said. "I can do that." She turned to leave, then paused. "The apron can't be fixed. The stain won't come out. But I'm still wearing hers underneath this one. I always will." Her words struck him with quiet force. "I understand," he whispered. And Lily disappeared into the kitchen, leaving Ethan standing alone in the sunlight-filled restaurant, unsure of what came next, but certain he needed to change. 3 days passed before Ethan returned. They were quiet, heavy days filled with thoughts he couldn't escape. He walked through his penthouse and saw everything differently. The art felt cold. The furniture felt staged. The silence felt endless. Nothing looked like a home. Nothing felt real. Lily's words kept echoing. Come as a person, not a billionaire. So he tried. He left the Bentley behind. Called a taxi. Wore jeans and a simple shirt, no labels, no watch that cost more than a car. Without his usual armor, he felt strangely exposed. The restaurant was crowded when he arrived. Warm afternoon light filtered through the windows, reflecting off busy tables. People talked and laughed, living ordinary lives that suddenly felt more real than anything he'd ever known. Then he saw her. Lily moved with steady purpose, balancing plates, refilling glasses, offering tired but genuine smiles. There were faint shadows under her eyes, yet she carried herself with quiet strength. She didn't see him at first. Ethan watched her lean toward an elderly couple, listening closely as they spoke. Her smile for them was soft, warm, the kind of smile no one had ever given him without expecting something in return. When she finally turned and saw him, she froze. Their eyes met. Her expression shifted, surprise, confusion, maybe even a flicker of something else. She delivered a plate, then walked toward him. You actually came back, she said, taking in his simple clothes. I told you I would. People say things they don't mean. She glanced around. I'm working. I can't talk long. I know. I just wanted to see you. To make sure you're all right. Her eyes flickered uncertainly. Why wouldn't I be? He didn't know how to answer. I just wondered. A customer waved. Miss? More bread, please. Lily sighed. I have to work. Can I wait? Until you're done. My shift ends at 11. I'll wait. That's 3 hours. I know. She studied him for a long moment. There's a coffee shop down the street. Angelo's. I usually stop there after work. If you're serious, I'll be there around 11:15. And she walked away. Ethan left and headed to Angelo's. A small corner shop with mismatched chairs and worn tables. He ordered coffee and waited by the window. 3 hours felt longer than any board meeting he'd ever endured. He watched people come and go, students, tired workers, an older man with a newspaper. Real people, living real lives he'd never noticed. At 11:20, the door opened. Lily stepped inside, hair slightly undone, still wearing her uniform. When she saw him, her eyes widened. You really waited. I really waited. She got herself some tea and sat across from him. For a moment, they said nothing. Why are you really here? She asked. And don't say it's guilt. You're right, he said. It's not guilt. You said we lived in different worlds. And I realized mine is smaller than I ever thought. So what am I supposed to be? A lesson? No. You're the first person in years who spoke to me like a human being. You expected better from me. And that mattered. You don't know anything about me. I know. That's why I'm here. Why should I tell you anything? You humiliated me. Because maybe I can learn to be different. And because, he hesitated, I think you're curious too. About why I came back. She looked down at her tea. I am curious. I shouldn't be. But I am. Her voice softened. My mother worked herself to exhaustion. Her heart gave out. She spent her life serving people who never saw her. Her words struck him with quiet force. I'm sorry, Ethan said. Sorry doesn't fix anything. She looked at him steadily. If you want to understand my world, show me. How? Lily stood. I take the bus home every night. Number 42. It comes in 10 minutes. If you really want to understand, take it with me. She walked out, leaving Ethan with a choice that felt bigger than anything he had ever faced. Ethan had never been on a bus before. Not once in 32 years. He stood at the small stop on the corner, looking strangely out of place under the dim streetlight. The bench was old, metal chipped at the edges, nothing like the polished world he came from. Lily sat on one end, hands folded in her lap, eyes focused on the road. When he walked over, she looked up, surprise flickering across her face. "You actually came. You sound shocked." "I am," she admitted. "I figured you'd change your mind and go home." "I walked here," he said, sitting beside her. "No car. No driver." Lily raised a skeptical eyebrow. "You walked? People in your world don't usually know what pavement feels like." Before he could answer, the bus rounded the corner, its headlights scattering across the dark street. It hissed to a stop. Lily stepped on first, swiping her transit card in one smooth motion. Ethan followed, hesitating at the fare box. "You need exact change," she whispered. "Or a card." He stared helplessly. The driver groaned. Lily sighed, pulled coins from her pocket, and dropped them in for him. "Come on." They sat near the back. Lily by the window, Ethan beside her. The bus jerked forward, and he grabbed the seat in front of him to keep from falling into her shoulder. "I take this bus every day," she said softly. "Morning and night. 40 minutes each way. 10 hours a week just traveling to a job that barely covers rent." Ethan had no response. He understood numbers, but not the life hidden behind them. Lily nodded toward an older woman near the front, her head resting against the window. "That's Maria. She works 2 jobs. She sleeps here because it's the only place she can." Ethan watched Maria closely. Her exhaustion wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, constant, the kind people carried when the world depended on them not falling apart. "This is my world," Lily said. "These people are my neighbors. My friends. We don't have nets. We just keep going." The bus hit a pothole. Someone muttered. A baby cried. The air smelled like old fabric and warm metal. Everything was ordinary. Everything was new to him. "My mom and I used to ride this same route," Lily continued. "Early mornings. She'd pack toast in napkins for me. Those were the calmest moments we ever had." Her voice carried a soft ache he recognized now. "Do you have anyone else?" Ethan asked gently. "No. It was always just us." She looked down at her hands. "I hope I was enough for her." "I think you were," he said quietly. She looked at him. "What about you?" "I have parents," he said. "Technically. They live in Monaco. I haven't seen them in 2 years." Lily's brows lifted. "Why not?" "They weren't interested in raising a child," he said. "Only in producing one." "That's sad." "Is it?" Ethan asked. "I had everything. Everything except what mattered," she said softly. The truth settled on him like a weight he hadn't known he carried. The bus slowed. Lily pulled the cord. "This is me." They stepped off into a worn neighborhood with cracked sidewalks and small balconies filled with flowers. A place lived in. A place cared for. Ethan had never seen anything like it. Lily stopped in front of a modest building. "This is where I live." He nodded, unsure of what to do with his hands. "Can I see you again?" "Why?" she asked quietly. "Because tonight I learned more about the world than I have in my entire life. Because you're helping me see what I never bothered to notice." She studied his face, searching for something real. "I work breakfast shift tomorrow. 6 to 2. If you're serious about learning, meet me here at 5:30. 5:30, he repeated. "That's when real people start their day." "I'll be here," he said. "We'll see." Lily took a step toward her building, then paused. "Thank you for actually showing up. Most people don't." Then she disappeared inside, leaving Ethan alone on a street that suddenly felt more honest, and more alive, than any place he had ever known. Ethan stood outside Lily's building at 5:25 the next morning. The sky was still dark, washed in deep blue, the kind of color that comes right before the first hint of sunrise. Streetlights hummed softly along the quiet street, casting long shadows across the pavement. He had barely slept. His mind kept replaying the night before, each moment clearer than the last. At exactly 5:30, the building door opened. Lily stepped out with her black and white apron folded under her arm, her hair pulled back neatly. She stopped when she saw him. "You're actually here," she said. "I told you I would. People make promises at night they don't keep in the morning." "Well," Ethan replied, "I'm not most people." "No," she murmured softly. "You're proving that." They walked toward the bus stop together. The early air was crisp and cold. Lily didn't complain or shiver. She carried herself like someone who had lived this routine for years, someone who couldn't afford to slow down. Ethan glanced at her. "Why did you give me a chance? After what I did, you should have sent me away." Lily considered this for a moment. "My mom used to say everyone deserves one chance to be better than their worst moment. Just one. What they do with that chance shows who they really are." "And you're giving me that?" he asked. "I'm giving you the opportunity to try," she said. "That's different." The bus arrived, and they boarded quietly. The city slowly woke around them, the soft rumble of traffic, delivery trucks unloading, a few early commuters stepping on and off. When they reached the restaurant, dawn was starting to color the sky with thin streaks of gold. "My shift starts in a few minutes," Lily said as she adjusted her apron. "You don't have to stay." "I want to stay," Ethan said. "I want to understand. I won't get in the way." She studied him, then nodded. "Corner table in the back. Order something small." He obeyed. Ethan sat with a mug of coffee and watched Lily work. She moved with steady purpose, navigating tables, greeting regulars, remembering orders without writing them down. She comforted a crying child, helped an older man settle into his seat, and handled impatient customers with gentle patience. She didn't take breaks. She didn't stop moving. She didn't lose her warmth. She showed more kindness before noon than he had shown in years. During a brief lull, she approached his table with a sandwich. "You've been here for hours," she said. "Eat. I'm not letting you faint in my section." Ethan smiled. "Yes, ma'am." She turned, then paused. "Why are you really doing this? Sitting here all morning? What are you looking for?" "I'm looking for understanding," he said. "Hearing about your life isn't enough. I needed to see it." "And what do you see?" she asked quietly. He met her eyes. "I see someone who works harder than I ever have. Someone who still treats people with kindness after losing the person she loved most. Someone who keeps going even when the world doesn't make it easy." Her expression softened, touched by his sincerity. "You see that?" "I do," he said. "More than I expected." Her name was called from the kitchen, and she hurried away. Ethan stayed until her shift ended. When she walked out, hair slightly loose and apron folded away, she looked tired, but curious. "You stayed," she said. "I told you I would." Lily studied him, her eyes thoughtful. Then she said quietly, "There's somewhere I go every week. If you want to understand my life, you should see it." "Where?" Ethan asked. She drew a slow breath. "The cemetery. Where my mother rests." The air between them shifted, gentler, heavier. "Are you sure you want me there?" he asked. "No," Lily said honestly. "But I think maybe you need to be." They took the bus in silence. The cemetery was peaceful, framed by tall oaks and soft morning light. Lily led him to a simple stone near the back. "Margaret and Harper. Beloved mother." Lily knelt, brushing leaves aside. "Hi, Mom," she whispered. "I brought someone to meet you." Ethan stood a few steps behind Lily, giving her space as she knelt beside her mother's grave. Sunlight filtered through the oak branches above them, scattering soft patches of gold across the grass. He felt strangely out of place, like he had stepped into a moment that wasn't his, but mattered anyway. "Mom," Lily whispered, brushing her fingers across the engraved letters. "This is Ethan. He's the man I told you about. The one who threw wine on your apron." Ethan winced. Hearing it said aloud in this quiet place made the memory sharper. "But he came back," Lily continued. "Every day. I don't really know why yet. Maybe he doesn't either." She paused, as if listening for a voice only she could hear. "You always said people surprise you when you give them the chance." "I'm trying to remember that." She pulled a small bouquet from her bag and replaced the wilted flowers in the vase. Her movements were gentle, almost ritualistic, full of love. "I miss you, Mom," she whispered. "Every single day. The apartment feels so empty without you. Sometimes I make your coffee just to smell it and pretend you're still there." The honesty in her voice tightened something in Ethan's chest. He'd never seen grief expressed this way, open, simple, without shame. In his world, sorrow happened behind closed doors. Here, it was allowed to breathe. Lily stood and brushed the dirt from her knees. She turned to him, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Do you want to say anything?" "Me?" Ethan blinked. I didn't know her." "No," Lily said gently, "but you damaged something that belonged to her. Maybe you should acknowledge that." It wasn't judgment, it was truth. Ethan stepped forward, unsure, feeling more nervous than he ever had in a boardroom. "Mrs. Harper," he began quietly, "I'm sorry. For what I did to your apron. For disrespecting something you worked in, something that held meaning for your daughter. And for hurting her." He swallowed. "Lily is the most remarkable person I've ever met. You raised someone with strength and grace. I thought you should know that." Silence settled between them, heavy but strangely peaceful. Lily turned away for a moment, wiping her eyes. She would have liked hearing that, she murmured. She always believed people could change if they truly wanted to. Did she change people? Ethan asked softly. "She tried," Lily said with a small sad smile. "She always tried to see the best in everyone. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. But she never stopped trying." They stood in the quietness of the cemetery, sunlight drifting through the trees. Two people from different worlds, held together by loss, regret, and something unnamed but growing. "Why did you bring me here?" Ethan finally asked. Lily took her time answering. "Because this is the most honest place I know. No one lies here. No one pretends. It's all truth and grief and love." She looked at him. "I wanted to see if you could handle that." "And did I?" "You didn't run," she said. "You didn't hide behind excuses. You listened. That means something." "What does it mean?" Ethan asked, his voice low. "I'm not sure yet," Lily said softly. "But I'm starting to believe you're actually trying. That maybe you really do want to be different." "I do," Ethan said. "Being around you makes me want to be someone I've never been." "That's a lot of pressure to put on someone," Lily replied gently. "Your growth has to be yours, not mine." He nodded, absorbing her words. "I've spent my life being who I was taught to be. Cold. Untouchable. But that's not who I want to be anymore." "Then let it go," Lily said simply. "Piece by piece." "I don't know how," he admitted. "You do," she said. "You're already doing it." She started walking toward the cemetery gate. "Come on. I'm buying you a real cup of coffee. $2. Tastes like home." 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks of early mornings, crowded buses, cheap coffee, and long conversations that stretched into something Ethan didn't quite know how to name. He showed up every day. Not with gifts. Not with money. Just with presence. And somehow, that was the thing Lily noticed most. She found herself waiting for him in ways she hadn't expected. It frightened her. She had built walls after her mother's death, tall ones, solid ones. But Ethan kept showing up, slowly dismantling those walls piece by piece simply by listening, by caring, by choosing to stay. One evening after her shift, they sat together in Angelo's. Rain slid down the windows in silver streaks. The shop was nearly empty, the soft hum of an old refrigerator filling the quiet. "Can I tell you something?" Lily asked, her hands wrapped around a warm mug of tea. "Anything," Ethan said. "I'm scared." Her voice was fragile. Honest. "I'm scared of trusting you. Of believing any of this is real. People like you don't change for people like me. That's not how the world works." Ethan leaned forward. "Then maybe it's time the world worked differently." "That's easy to say," she murmured. "But what happens when you get bored? When I stop being interesting? What happens when you go back to your real life and I'm just the waitress you felt guilty about once?" He felt the words like a blade across his chest. "Lily, this isn't guilt. And you're not an experiment. You're the first real thing in my life." She blinked. "I don't know what that means." "It means conversations with you matter more than any deal I've ever made. It means I'd rather sit on a bus with you than walk through my penthouse alone. It means when I wake up, the first thought I have is hoping I'll see you." Her breath caught. "Ethan, I know I haven't earned your trust. Not yet. But I'm asking you to give me time. To let me prove that this is real." Lily looked down at her mug. Her expression shifted again and again. Fear, tenderness, uncertainty, something close to longing. "What are you really asking me?" she whispered. "I'm asking if you feel it too," Ethan said. "This thing between us." Lily's voice barely rose above a whisper. "I feel something. I don't know what to call it. Gratitude, maybe. Or curiosity. Or. Ethan prompted gently. "Or maybe something I'm too scared to name," she said. "Because if I name it, it becomes real. And real things can hurt you." "They can," Ethan agreed softly. "But real things can also save you." "Is that what you think you're doing?" she asked. "Saving me?" "No," he said, shaking his head. "I think you're saving me." The air tightened between them, charged and quiet. Rain tapped softly against the windows like a heartbeat. "I lost myself when my mother died," Lily said quietly. "I stopped hoping. I stopped caring. I was just surviving. But then you walked into my life in the worst way possible." She let out a shaky laugh. "And somehow, you woke something up in me." "What did I wake up?" he asked gently. "Hope," she whispered. "The belief that life might still surprise me. That maybe I don't have to be alone forever." Ethan reached across the table slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. Their fingers brushed, then intertwined. The contact was small, but it felt enormous. "I don't know how to do this," Ethan admitted. "I don't know the rules. I've never felt this for anyone." "There are no rules," Lily said. "Just honesty. Just showing up. Just being real, even when it's hard." "I can do that," he said. "Can you?" Her voice was gentle but serious. "Even when your old life tries to pull you back. Even when it feels easier to disappear." "My old life is empty," Ethan said simply. "You showed me that. I don't want it anymore." Lily searched his face for a long moment. Whatever she was looking for, she must have found it, because she finally spoke the word that changed everything. "Okay." "Okay," he repeated softly. "I'll trust you," she said. "Not all at once. Not completely. But enough to see where this goes." She squeezed his hand. "Just don't make me regret it." "I won't," Ethan promised. Rain kept falling outside as they sat together in the small coffee shop, two people from different worlds, holding on to something new. Something fragile. Something worth protecting. 3 months passed. 3 months of slow, steady transformation. Ethan no longer visited Lily's world, he lived in it. He'd moved out of his penthouse into a modest apartment only a few blocks from hers. He took the bus every day, walked to the market, and learned the names of neighbors he would once have ignored. He even began volunteering at a community center, teaching business basics to people trying to build small, hopeful futures. His old friends didn't understand. His business partners whispered that he'd lost his mind. But Ethan felt more certain than ever. For the first time in his life, he wasn't building wealth. He was building meaning. And at the center of that new life was Lily. They'd grown close in ways he didn't know were possible. Quiet dinners in her tiny kitchen, long walks at dusk, conversations that stretched until sunrise. She taught him to appreciate simple joys, a warm cup of coffee, laughter with friends, sunsets viewed from rooftops instead of penthouses. Yet one thing remained undone. One way he needed to show her that everything he had become wasn't temporary, wasn't fragile, wasn't performative. So on a soft Sunday morning, he asked Lily to meet him at the restaurant, the same restaurant where everything had begun. She arrived to find the doors unlocked and the dining room empty, sunlight spilling across the tables. "What's going on?" she asked, confused. Ethan stood in the center of the room, hands in his pockets, looking unusually nervous. "I bought it," he said. Lily blinked. "You what?" "I bought the restaurant. The owner wanted to retire, so I made him an offer." "Ethan, why?" He stepped closer. "Because this is where your mother worked for 20 years. This is where you built your life. This is where we met. I don't ever want this place to disappear or be turned into something cold and soulless." Lily's breath trembled. "Ethan." "But I'm not running it," he continued. "You are. If you want to. I'm offering you the manager position. And in 2 years, ownership transfers to you completely." Her eyes filled instantly. "I can't accept something like this." "It's not charity," Ethan said softly. "It's a commitment. To you. To your mother's memory. To the life we're building." He took her hands in his. "These past 3 months have been the best of my life. Not because of what I left behind, but because of what I found." "I didn't do anything," she whispered, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You did everything. You saw past who I was. You believed I could be better. You taught me that real wealth has nothing to do with money." His voice cracked. "It's connection. It's purpose. It's love." The word hung in the air like a held breath. Lily froze. "Did you just say love?" "Yes," Ethan said, steady and certain. "I love you, Lily Harper. I love your strength, your kindness, your honesty. I love the way you talk to your mother at her grave. I love that you still wear her apron under your uniform. I love every piece of who you are." A soft sound escaped her, half laugh and half sob. "I love you too," she said. "I've been terrified to say it. But I do. I love you." Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was something rare and irreplaceable. She held him just as tightly, as if letting go might break something. They stood together in the quiet restaurant where their story had begun, where shame turned into apology, apology into understanding, and understanding into love. "So," Ethan murmured eventually, brushing her cheek, "will you do it? Will you run this place? Make it yours?" Lily wiped her tears, breath trembling. "On one condition. Anything. We rename it." She smiled softly. "Harper's. After my mother." Ethan's smile broke wide and bright. "That's perfect." And for the first time, the restaurant didn't feel like a place of mistakes. It felt like the beginning of a legacy. 1 year later, Harper's restaurant was unrecognizable, in the best possible way. The renovation had kept its warmth, but added gentle touches that honored Margaret Harper. Her framed photograph hung near the entrance, smiling at every guest who stepped inside. Fresh flowers sat on the counter each morning. The staff was treated with respect, paid fairly, and offered real opportunities to grow. Harper's wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It had become a home for everyone who walked through its doors. Lily stood behind the bar reviewing reservations for the evening. She wore a crisp new apron that suited her role as manager. But beneath it, hidden close to her heart, she still wore her mother's old apron. The faint stain remained, softened by time. She kept it as a reminder, of forgiveness, of growth, of how the worst moments can become the beginnings of the best ones. The door opened, and Ethan stepped inside carrying a small box. He had been away all morning on an errand he refused to explain. Lily looked up, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "What's in the box?" she asked. Ethan set it gently on the bar. "Open it." Lily lifted the lid. Inside was a neatly folded piece of fabric, blue, soft, familiar. She lifted it carefully, and her breath faltered. It was her mother's apron. But the stain was gone. Completely gone. "How did you?" Her voice broke before she could finish. "I've been working with a textile restoration specialist," Ethan said softly. "Someone who restores museum pieces. It took months, but they were able to remove the stain without damaging the fabric. I wanted to give it back to you the way it was. The way she kept it." Tears filled Lily's eyes. She pressed the apron to her chest. "Ethan, this is the most meaningful thing anyone has ever done for me." "You gave me my life back," he said. "I wanted to return a piece of yours." Lily rounded the bar and wrapped him in her arms. "I love you so much." He held her tightly. "I love you too." Then he pulled back slightly, his eyes warm. "There's something else inside the box." Lily frowned, reaching in. Her fingers brushed velvet. A small box. Her breath caught. Ethan gently took it from her trembling hands and opened it. Inside was a simple, elegant ring that glowed softly under the restaurant lights. "Lily Harper," he said quietly, "you saved my life in every way a person can be saved. You taught me what love really is. What forgiveness is. What it means to live with integrity and heart." His voice softened. "Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down her face, but her smile was bright and full. She couldn't speak, she could only nod as Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger. Their kiss was soft, full of every moment that had led them here. From behind the kitchen door came a sudden explosion of cheers. Staff poured out, clapping, laughing, celebrating. Regular customers joined in, the whole room filling with joy like light through stained glass. Later, when the noise had settled into warm conversation, Lily stood before her mother's photo. She touched the frame gently, her heart full. "I wish you could meet him, Mom," she whispered. "I wish you could see how much he's changed. You always said people could surprise you. You were right. Love gives people a reason to become better." Ethan stepped beside her, slipping his hand into hers. Together, they looked at Margaret's smiling face. "Thank you," Ethan whispered to the photo, "for raising someone extraordinary. For teaching her to see goodness where others see flaws. For giving her the strength to offer second chances." Lily rested her head on his shoulder. Outside, the city carried on, cars passing, lights glowing, life moving forward. But inside Harper's, two people stood together, surrounded by love, hope, and the quiet promise of a future they had rebuilt from the ruins of a single painful moment. The same trembling voice that once nearly broke Ethan's heart now spoke words of forever. And Ethan Carmichael, who once had everything and nothing, finally understood what it meant to be truly rich.